Hi, welcome. We're at the Old Greenbelt Theatre with the executive director, Caitlin, and she has graciously welcomed us to talk about what's coming up at the Old Greenbelt Theatre, what movies, and anything else that's planned for you guys. So please take it away.
Thanks, Phoebe. Thanks for being here. It's really great to have you back. So we are now open 4 days a week. We're really glad to be slowly coming out of the pandemic. We're open Friday through Monday, and we have 2 shows each day. And we tend to have 1 or 2 films. We're trying to bring as much, diversity in our programming as possible. We require that you're either vaccinated or have a negative PCR test within 48 hours. Our concession stand is open as normal, and you can eat and drink in the theater. We have socially distanced seats. Currently our capacity is down to less than 25%, with 75 seats out of our 368 open, so there's lots of space to spread out and feel safe. And we have, enhanced cleaning procedures and everything. You can find out more on our website, all the cinema safe programming that we are participating in for that as well.
Great. So can you tell us about what you have coming up?
Absolutely. So we're really close to being able to open our second screen space in Media Lab at OGT. We're really excited about that. It's been a long time coming. So stay tuned for more information. We'd love to show it off with you sometime soon.
Absolutely.
And that will be a second screening room for us to show regular films, at night. Again, starting 4 days, but hopefully soon, moving back to our usual 7 days a week. And then we'll also have our education programming slowly rolling out this spring and then really ramping up in the fall.
Fantastic. That sounds really exciting.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
So what's the new movie this week?
So we have Joe Wright's new film, Cyrano, starring Peter Dinklage. It's a classic tale that I'm sure everybody is familiar with, but it's with a new twist. So previous productions that people have seen probably focused on the actor of Cyrano having a large nose, like that is his...
A very exaggerated prosthetic nose.
Exactly, yeah. Or in the case of Gerard Depardieu, just his big French nose, yeah. Although I think there was a little bit added.
I think there was, yeah.
But in this case, they've rewritten it so that it's not focused on, they don't do the fake nose, it's just that Peter Dinklage's size is the thing that is apparently the impediment to Roxanne seeing him as a love interest. And so that's an interesting twist. It's also a little bit of a musical, so they're not really billing it as that, but there's definitely singing that happens.
Right.
So that'll be interesting to see how that, adapts or twists the story a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to have somebody who's a real person rather than somebody who's kind of an exaggerated, just ugly stereotype. But instead, this is like something that people actually deal with in a social setting. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because even in the film version that I grew up with Steve Martin and Roxanne, which is a comedy, but it's the same story. And everybody knew that Steve Martin had a normal sized nose, so it wasn't really, you didn't really feel it in a kind of dramatic way. Whereas Peter Dinklage, this is obviously something that his day-to-day life, I'm sure has had to confront people making assumptions about him based on his size.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we know him as a very successful actor, and in fact, the screenwriter is his wife. So,
wow.
So I don't think she was writing it for him, but then it started to make sense that maybe they could just try to break the mold a little bit and do something more interesting with the character and not have it be so the way it's always been done.
Although I wonder, because I know it was kind of a tragedy.
Right.
So I wonder how they're going to adapt this version of it.
I know. I'm very curious to see the ending, like how they work it out. But
especially when there's like the musical component added into it.
Yes, yeah. I think that one of the things that is going to make it feel really fresh is that if we think about how much appearances are kind of emphasized these days, especially with social media, and so there's a kind of a consistency to it or a present day relevancy that maybe you wouldn't have assumed, but that people make assumptions based on what people look like, especially the way that they present themselves to the world through the
right, especially with dating apps and everything being so popular.
Right, that you just assume what somebody is going to be like based on very superficial things. and that actually, because I don't think I'll be giving anything away to say it, but the character that Roxanne thinks that she's in love with, Christian, doesn't have any facility in terms of, wooing her. Yeah. And so he's calling on Cyrano to do that. And so, she thinks she's got this perfect package of this incredibly handsome man who's also very poetic, but actually okay, well, what does it come down to? What really matters? And so I think that there's a message of getting to, past superficial, presentation or whatever it may be is relevant today as much as it was back then.
Yeah, and even with the Netflix show Love is Blind, that seems to be the underlying current that people are questioning these days is yeah, can you just fall in love with somebody without ever seeing what they look like? Yes. And just understanding them on a much deeper level first.
Yeah, and I think for this it'll be interesting to see how they handle her knowing him so well already that she's just seen him as nothing but platonic, but then falling in love with his words and then realizing that those words are connected to the platonic friend, so yeah. I think that's what makes it a powerful story and something that people want to continue to see, because that's actually really beautiful.
Well, I'm excited to see that one. And how long is that one running for?
Well, we'll probably have it for 2 weeks, but in the second week, we're really hopeful that we can bring Death on the Nile. We know that Hercule Poirot is a favorite with our audiences, and so we're really excited to see this newest adaptation with Kenneth Branagh.
That's awesome, yeah. Oh, Kenneth Branagh is he's fun. I've always liked seeing his adaptations.
Yeah, so. He's really good. Yeah, I actually listened to an interview with him recently, and he was talking about Belfast, his autobiographical film that we showed as well, and is up for some Oscars, so we may bring it back if it wins. But he just was speaking about how he really wants to make his adaptations, have them be relatable. He was speaking specifically about Shakespeare, but I think that Poirot is also this case of trying to find a kind of connection and humanity to things that don't require you to be an expert in that, and that are just, very, relatable.
Yeah, that's definitely what I've felt watching his films, is that even the ones that I never studied in English class or anything like that, I felt like I could understand just because of the way that he directs it and the way that the actors deliver their lines.
Absolutely, yeah, and he was talking about it in specific relation to his parents, that he grew up in not an illiterate household, but they just didn't prioritize books and reading and that sort of thing. And so for him, he really wanted, although he quickly fell in love with Shakespeare, he wanted to produce adaptations that his parents would understand and that wouldn't have to rely on studying the play and reading it line by line, but that could, even if you don't know all the words, that you get the feeling and the essence and the kind of spirit of it.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me, and I'm really glad to be back again.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to have you back, and we look forward to doing it again.